My family used my money and left me broke to fund my sister's dream wedding. So I planned a surprise they'll never forget. The screen of my phone glowed mockingly in the darkness of my bedroom, displaying a balance I couldn't comprehend. $12.47. Just yesterday there had been over $40,000 in my account. Every penny I'd saved since I was 16. My hands trembled as I refreshed the app again and again, hoping it was just a glitch. My name is Caroline, and I thought I knew what betrayal felt like. I was wrong. A notification popped up. A text from my mother. Honey, we borrowed some money for Claire's wedding. Don't worry. We'll pay you back once everything settles down. This is for the family's joy. The room started spinning. I grabbed my keys and drove to my parents' house, still wearing my pajamas. The lights were on despite it being 11 p.m. Through the window I could see Mom and Claire hunched over bridal magazines at the kitchen table, giggling like schoolgirls. I burst through the door without knocking. What did you do? Mom looked up, her smile faltering slightly. Caroline, what are you doing here so late? My money, I said, my voice cracking. How did you even access my account? Claire's eyes widened. What's going on? Your sister's being dramatic, Mom said, waving her hand dismissively. We needed the money for your wedding venue deposit. The Riverside Garden books up years in advance, and they had a last-minute cancellation. $40,000? I couldn't keep the tremor from my voice. That was everything I had. Oh, please. Mom rolled her eyes. You're always so selfish. This is your sister's special day. Besides, you're not even dating anyone. What were you saving for? My future? My independence? Maybe my own wedding someday. The words came out in a rush. You had no right. Dad appeared in the doorway, still in his work clothes. What's all the shouting about? They stole my money, I said, turning to him. Dad, they cleaned out my account. Borrowed, Mom corrected. And we're co-signers on that account, sweetheart. We've always had access. The account I opened when I was 16, I said slowly. The one you were supposed to remove yourselves from when I turned 18. Remember that conversation? Dad at least had the decency to look uncomfortable. Mara, we should have discussed this with Caroline first. There wasn't time. Mom stood up, spreading her arms. The venue needed an answer today. Do you know how many people would kill for a June wedding at Riverside Garden? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Claire. Claire finally spoke up. I didn't know it was Caroline's money. Of course you didn't, I spat. You never have to know where anything comes from. Everything just magically appears for precious Claire. That's enough. Mom slammed her hand on the table. I won't have you ruining this special time with your jealousy. The money will be repaid after the wedding. After the wedding? I laughed bitterly. With what? The money you don't have? Is that why you stole from me in the first place? We did not steal, Mom began, but I cut her off. I worked 3 jobs through college. I saved every scholarship dollar. I lived on ramen while Claire got a new car for her 20th birthday. And now you take everything I've worked for without even asking? Caroline, Dad stepped forward, reaching for my arm. Let's talk about this rationally. I jerked away from him. Don't touch me. You're just as bad as she is. You always stand there and let her do whatever she wants. I'm sorry, Claire whispered, tears welling in her eyes. I didn't want it to be like this. No, I said, backing toward the door. You never want it to be like this. You just want everything handed to you and someone else to deal with the consequences. Mom followed me. Where are you going? Don't be ridiculous. Come back inside, and we'll discuss this like adults. I turned to face her one last time. Adults ask before taking something that doesn't belong to them. Adults respect boundaries. You're not adults. You're thieves. As I drove home, my phone buzzed repeatedly with messages from all 3 of them. I ignored them all. In my apartment, I sat in the dark, staring at the wedding invitation that had arrived last week. The elaborate script announced Claire and Trenton's perfect day at the prestigious Riverside Garden. My perfect sister, my perfect parents, their perfect lies. I picked up my phone and dialed, Elise, I need your help with something. It's almost midnight, my best friend answered groggily. What's wrong? Everything, I said, my voice steady for the first time that night, and I'm going to make them pay for it. Elise sat across from me at our usual coffee shop booth the next morning, her eyes wide as I showed her my empty bank account. They can't do this. It's illegal, right? Apparently they can, I said, stirring my untouched coffee. I called the bank. Since they're still co-signers, technically they had authorization, but you're 26. Why were they still? Because I trusted them. The words tasted bitter. I never thought they'd. My phone buzzed again, Claire's face lighting up the screen for the 10th time that morning. I declined the call. You have to answer eventually, Elise said gently. Watch me not. I switched my phone to silent. You know what the worst part is? Mom's already posting about the perfect venue on social media. Look. I showed Elise my mother's Facebook post. Dreams do come true. So blessed to announce Claire and Trenton's wedding will be at the prestigious Riverside Garden. Perfect day. Blessed mother. June wedding. The comments are making me sick, I said. You must be so proud. Claire deserves nothing but the best. If they only knew. The bell above the cafe door chimed and I froze. Dad walked in, scanning the room until he spotted me. Caroline, he said, approaching our table. You're not answering your phone. Funny how that works. Kind of like how you didn't answer when I tried calling about accessing my account yesterday. He shifted uncomfortably. I was in meetings all day. Right. Important meetings. Always too important to stop Mom when she goes too far. I'll leave you two to talk. Elise started to slide out of the booth, but I grabbed her arm. Stay, please. Dad pulled up a chair. Your mother and I discussed it, and we understand you're upset. Upset? I laughed. Dad, you stole my life savings. Borrowed. He corrected automatically, then winced when I slammed my cup down. Stop saying that. You can't borrow without asking. You can't borrow what you can't repay. Where's this money supposedly coming from? He loosened his tie. We have some investments we can liquidate after the wedding. Investments? I leaned forward. What investments? Last month you were complaining about second mortgaging the house for Claire's grad school. We'll figure it out, he said weakly. Caroline, please. Your sister is devastated. She's been crying all morning. Good. Don't be like that. She's your sister, and I'm your daughter. My voice cracked. Several cafe patrons turned to stare. Did either of you think about that? Did you think about what this money meant to me? Of course we did, but sometimes families make sacrifices. No. I cut him off. Claire doesn't sacrifice. Mom doesn't sacrifice. You don't sacrifice. I'm the only one who ever has to give anything up. Dad reached across the table for my hand. I pulled back. Remember when I got into Stanford? I asked quietly. Full academic scholarship, but I still needed money for housing and books. Mom said we couldn't afford it. I went to state instead. 2 months later, Claire got her BMW. That was different. How was it different? He had no answer. Get out, I said. Caroline, get out. He stood slowly, looking older than I'd ever seen him. We love you, both of you, equally. That's the biggest lie you've ever told. I turned to stare out the window, refusing to watch him leave. After the bell chimed again, Elise squeezed my hand. Are you okay? No. I pulled out the wedding invitation, running my finger over the embossed letters. But I will be. What are you thinking? I'm thinking about karma. I met her eyes, and how sometimes it needs a little help. My phone buzzed with a text from Claire. Please talk to me. I didn't know it was your money. I'll find another venue. No, you won't, I muttered, typing back. Keep the venue. You deserve your perfect day. I'll be there. Don't worry. Elise raised an eyebrow. That's surprisingly forgiving of you. I showed her my screen where I'd pulled up Boston's Instagram profile. He was a social media manager I knew through mutual friends, and more importantly, he had over 100,000 followers. They want a perfect wedding? I smiled for the first time in 24 hours. I'll make sure everyone remembers it. Caroline, Elise warned. Whatever you're planning. They took everything I had, I said, hitting the message button on Boston's profile. Now I'm going to take the only thing they care about, their precious reputation. The cafe bell chimed again. This time it was my mother clutching her designer purse like a shield. I stood up, gathering my things. Not today, Mom. I've got a wedding to prepare for. You want me to do what? Boston leaned back in his chair at the trendy downtown bar, eyebrows raised. Make it go viral, I repeated, sliding my phone across the table. The bank statement was still open on the screen. I want everyone to know exactly how my sister's dream wedding is being funded. He whistled low. That's cold, Caroline, even for you. Colder than stealing someone's entire savings? Fair point. He took a sip of his beer. But have you thought this through? Once something's online, it's there forever. Good. I pulled out my notebook, flipping to a fresh page. I want it to be permanent. I want, hey, guys. A familiar voice cut through the bar's ambient noise. My stomach dropped as Trenton, Claire's fiancé, approached our table. Trent. Boston stood to give him a quick hug. Didn't expect to see you here. Just grabbing drinks with some work friends. His eyes landed on me. Caroline. Perfect timing. Claire's been trying to reach you. I've been busy, I said flatly. Listen. He pulled up a chair uninvited. I heard about what happened with the money. I had no idea. Save it, I cut him off. You're just as bad as she is. Living in your fantasy world where everything works out perfectly because someone else pays the price. His face reddened. That's not fair. I offered to help pay for the venue when I found out. With what? I laughed. Your entry-level salary? The same one you used to justify Claire paying for your dates all through college? Caroline, Boston warned. No. Let her finish, Trenton said, jaw tight. Clearly she's been holding on to this for a while. You're damn right I have. I leaned forward. You've been living off my sister's allowance for years, and now you're living off my stolen savings. You're a parasite, Trenton. He stood abruptly, chair scraping against the floor. I came here to make peace. Claire's devastated. Your parents are trying to make it right. Why can't you just what? Roll over? Accept it? Like I always do? Maybe if you weren't so bitter about everything? Get out, I said, my voice deadly quiet, before I start telling everyone here exactly what kind of man you are. He left without another word. Boston waited until he was gone before speaking. Well, that was intense. He deserved it. Maybe. Boston picked up my phone again. But you might want to be more careful. Element of surprise and all that. He had a point. I took a deep breath, refocusing. So, will you help me? I don't know, Caroline. This is pretty nuclear. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Drop whatever you're planning. Some things should stay in the family. I showed it to Boston. See? They're already trying to silence me. He frowned. Who sent that? Probably one of Mom's country club friends. She's been telling everyone I'm having a mental episode. I rolled my eyes. Classic deflection. What exactly do you want to do? I pulled out the wedding invitation. June 15th, Riverside Garden. I'm going to stand up during the ceremony and tell everyone exactly how this wedding was funded. I want you to make sure it spreads beyond just the guests. That's specific. I've had time to think about it. I showed him my notes. I'll need multiple camera angles, live streaming capabilities, maybe even Caroline? A soft voice interrupted. I looked up to see Elise, who was supposed to meet us later. You're early, I said. Yeah, she sat down looking troubled. I just came from your parents' house. My stomach clenched. Why were you there? Claire called me. She's a mess, Caroline. She's talking about canceling the wedding. Good. Is it? Elise challenged. Will that get your money back? Will it make you feel better? Yes, I said, but my voice wavered. You're lying. She reached for my hand. I know you're hurt. You have every right to be. But this path you're on, don't. I pulled away. Don't try to talk me out of this. I'm not. I'm asking you to think about what happens after. When the video goes viral, when the family's torn apart, when there's no going back, what then? My phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. Last warning. Back off. I showed it to them both. See? They're threatening me now. Still think I should back down? Boston and Elise exchanged looks. Actually, Boston said slowly, this might work in our favor. Keep those texts. Document everything. If we're going to do this, let's do it right. I smiled, feeling the first flutter of victory. So you'll help? He nodded. But we do this my way. Professional. Calculated. No emotional outbursts. Deal. I raised my glass. To karma. To karma, he echoed, but Elise remained silent, watching me with worried eyes. I ignored her concern. There was no turning back now. Are you sure about this? Boston asked, adjusting the tiny camera hidden in what looked like a normal brooch. Once we start, there's no going back. We were sitting in his home office, surrounded by various pieces of recording equipment. 3 weeks had passed since the confrontation at the bar, and the wedding was now just 10 days away. I'm sure. I pinned the brooch to my jacket, checking its position in the mirror. How's the audio quality? Crystal clear. He played back a test recording. But Caroline, these threatening texts you've been getting, maybe we should report them. I shook my head. They're just trying to scare me. Besides, we need them for the story. My phone lit up with another message from Claire. Just picked up my dress. Wish you'd been there. Miss you. I ignored it just like I'd ignored the dozens before it. The bridal shower invitation. The rehearsal dinner details. The desperate voicemails. Your sister's really trying, Boston observed, watching me delete the message. She's really trying to pretend everything's normal, I corrected. Just like always. The doorbell rang. Boston checked his security camera feed. It's Elise. She burst in moments later, waving a stack of papers. You're not gonna believe what I found. What is it? I asked as she spread the documents across Boston's desk. Bank statements, credit card bills, loan applications. She pointed to highlighted sections. Your parents are completely underwater. They've been living on credit for years, trying to maintain their lifestyle. I leaned in closer. Where did you get these? I have a friend who works at their bank. She owed me a favor. Elise looked uncomfortable. What they did to you, it wasn't just cruel. It was desperate. They're on the verge of bankruptcy. All the more reason to expose them, I said. They're frauds. Caroline. Elise's voice softened. They're drowning. Maybe if you talk to them. No. I gathered the papers. This is perfect. Now we can show everyone exactly who they are. Boston cleared his throat. I've been thinking. Maybe we should have a backup plan. What if someone tries to stop you during the ceremony? That's why I need you both there, I said. Multiple angles, multiple devices streaming. If I get shut down, one of you keeps recording. I don't know. Elise hesitated. This feels wrong. Wrong? I spun to face her. You know what's wrong? This bill for Claire's wedding dress. I pointed to one of the statements, $10,000. That's 2 months of my savings right there for one dress she'll wear once. I'm not defending them, Elise said, but a sharp knock at the door cut her off. Boston checked the camera and paled. It's your dad. What? I grabbed the documents, shoving them into my bag. How did he know I was here? Probably followed me, Elise admitted. I saw his car earlier but thought I lost him. The knocking grew louder. Caroline? I know you're in there. Please, we need to talk. Boston pointed to his back door. Go. I'll handle him. I slipped out just as Boston opened the front door. From around the corner, I heard my father's voice. Where is she? Mr. Graham, Boston said firmly. This is private property. She's my daughter who clearly doesn't want to speak with you. I texted Elise. Meet me at our backup location. 20 minutes later, we regrouped at a small cafe across town. Boston joined us shortly after. Your dad's gone, he reported. But he left this. He handed me an envelope. Inside was a check for $5,000 and a note. It's a start. Please let us make this right. I ripped both in half. Caroline. Elise protested. It's not about the money anymore, I said. It's about the lies, the manipulation, everything they've hidden for years while pretending to be the perfect family. Speaking of hiding, Boston pulled out his laptop. I've got the live stream set up ready. Multiple platforms. Impossible to shut down completely. The moment you start talking, it'll go live. I nodded, touching the brooch. Good. And the audio? Crystal clear like I said, but he hesitated. Are you absolutely sure you want to do this? It's not too late to back out. My phone buzzed with another anonymous text. Final chance. Walk away or face the consequences. I showed them the message. See? They're still trying to control me. Still trying to silence me. Well, not anymore. I stood up, gathering my things. The rehearsal dinner is in 3 days. I need you both there, testing the equipment, making sure everything works perfectly. And then? Elise asked quietly. And then? I smiled grimly. My sister gets exactly the wedding day she deserves. As I walked out, I heard Elise whisper to Boston, I'm scared for her. I'm scared for all of them, he replied. They should be, I thought. The perfect family was about to get a very public wake-up call. The morning of the wedding dawned bright and clear. Perfect weather for destroying my family's reputation. I stood in front of my mirror, adjusting the pale blue bridesmaid's dress Claire had chosen months ago. The brooch camera was hidden perfectly among the beading. My phone lit up with a text from Boston. Equipment check at 9. Don't be late. I grabbed my purse and headed for the door only to find Elise waiting in the hallway. You shouldn't be alone today, she said simply. The drive to Riverside Garden was silent. The venue looked like something from a fairy tale, with its manicured lawns and cascading flower arrangements. A banner across the entrance read Claire and Trenton's perfect day. Subtle, I muttered. Boston met us at the side entrance, laptop in hand. Testing, testing. Camera 1, say something. I hate everything about this place. Audio's perfect. He checked his screen. Camera 2. Elise touched her necklace. Another hidden camera. Testing. All systems go. Boston looked up. Last chance to back out. Before I could respond, my mother's voice rang out across the garden. Caroline, there you are. She hurried over, perfect makeup already in place, designer dress rustling. Why aren't you at the bridal suite? Claire's been asking for you. I needed some air. Well, come on. She grabbed my arm. The photographer wants pictures of the sisters getting ready together. I caught Boston's eye. He nodded slightly. The cameras were rolling. The bridal suite was chaos. Makeup artists, hairdressers, and Claire in the middle of it all, looking like a princess in her expensive dress, my stolen savings wrapped in white silk and lace. Caroline. She jumped up, eyes watery. You came. I'm a bridesmaid, aren't I? She hugged me tight. I've missed you so much. I'm so sorry about everything. Are you? I pulled back. Or are you just sorry I found out? Girls, Mom warned. Not today. Right, I smiled coldly. Today's perfect just like everything else in Claire's life. The makeup artist approached with her brush. Ready for touch-ups? I'll do my own, I said quickly, not wanting anyone to notice the brooch. Claire caught my arm as I turned away. Can we talk? Please? Just for a minute? I followed her to a private corner, aware of the camera recording every moment. I tried to give it back, she whispered. The venue deposit, but they said it was non-refundable. How convenient. I'm serious. I feel terrible. Trenton and I even talked about postponing, but you didn't. Mom said it would be a waste. Of my money? She flinched. That's not fair. None of this is fair, Claire. But you're still going through with it. Because I love him. Tears welled in her eyes. And I love you. You're my sister. Please don't let this ruin everything. For a moment, just a moment, I wavered. Then my phone buzzed. Another anonymous text. Last warning. Don't do this to your family. My resolve hardened. You should finish getting ready. Wouldn't want to ruin your perfect makeup. The next few hours passed in a blur of photographs, last-minute adjustments, and carefully orchestrated moments. Mom kept trying to create picture-perfect scenes of sisterly love while Dad hovered anxiously in the background. Finally, guests began arriving. I watched from a window as Boston and Elise took their strategic positions, one near the front, one in the middle, both with clear views of the altar. 5 minutes, the wedding coordinator called out. Claire appeared beside me, radiant in her final moments of preparation. "How do I look?" "Like $40,000, I said quietly. She paled. "Caroline." "Places, everyone." The coordinator clapped her hands. "Bridesmaids, line up." As we took our positions, I felt my phone buzz one last time. Not an anonymous threat this time, but a message from Dad. "Whatever you're planning, please remember you can't take it back." I deleted it without responding. The wedding march began to play. One by one we processed down the aisle. I could feel Mom beaming from the front row, Dad looking nervous beside her. Boston gave me a subtle nod as I passed. Elise wouldn't meet my eyes. I took my place at the altar watching Claire float down the aisle on Dad's arm. She looked beautiful, perfect, everything she'd always been and I'd never managed to become. The minister began to speak. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today." My hand touched the brooch. In moments, everything would change. The perfect family would shatter. The perfect wedding would become a viral scandal. If anyone has any reason why these two should not be joined in marriage, I took a deep breath. This was it. My moment of truth. Claire turned slightly, catching my eye. For the first time in weeks I really looked at my sister, and what I saw made me hesitate, but only for a moment. Actually, I stepped forward, my voice carrying across the suddenly silent church. "I do have a reason." Claire's face crumpled. "Caroline, please. Everyone here thinks this is a perfect wedding," I continued, my voice growing stronger. "A perfect couple, a perfect family. But it's all built on lies." Mom stood up. "Caroline, stop this right now." "No, Mom. I won't stop. Not anymore." I turned to address the guests directly. "You want to know how this perfect wedding was funded with stolen money?" "My money." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I could see Boston's red recording light blinking steadily. $40,000, I announced. Every penny I'd saved since I